All right, world. We are back at it again. You are in it with the Dunlaps again. I am your co-host, Deante,
And I'm Shekema.
and we are the Dunlaps.
We're the
We are
Dunlaps.
back at the same time, like we promised last time, and we're gonna continue to make this promise. We're gonna continue to meet this promise every week. You know what I'm saying? God willing.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. We
y'all for
kind of got some
joining.
inclement weather today.
Yeah, snowed in. I
Iced
guess you
in.
can't call it snow. It's
Yeah.
iced in. Yeah, like
We
you know.
iced in here in
Yeah.
Austin area.
Yeah, but it's icy out there on the roads. Apparently, Dallas got some good snow. I hope y'all up there keeping warm.
Yeah. Y'all got
But
the good stuff.
yeah, but I know in other parts of the country they experiencing some real sub-zero weather. So,
Hmm.
well, we're gonna just chill with our 30s
That's
and mind
it.
our business. Um, all right, my love, and our newly set tradition, typical behavior, typical flow of our podcast. You want to tell us about today in social justice history?
Yeah. So let's see what we're gonna talk about today. My mouse just died, right? That's the tech.
No.
Yeah. That's the only thing about the rechargeable mouse. It's like it's dead. And where is the cord to recharge it?
Yep.
So we're gonna have to make this work. So the teacher in me tells me to just let y'all know we coming. Okay, we coming. Let me pull up my little stuff over here. And just while we're waiting on me to get myself together over here, part of what we're doing today is just talking about things that make you say, "I know you lying." Like how did that happen? How did we get
Like
here? And
what?
so, yeah. And so we just figured like today, we're just going to take some time and just talk to you about, all of the things that, make us say that. So I will share what happened yesterday while we get today's up and running. And yesterday was the anniversary of the house bombing of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm.
Yeah, so they bombed his house in Montgomery on January 30th, 1956. And so I just thought that we would talk about that because we are heading into Black History Month, and we're going to start seeing all the my friend Martin, stuff going on with the kids learning about him and Rosa Parks in school, and that'll be the only thing that they're learning about for the next 20 something days. And so I just thought that we would discuss that at the same time. Babe, while I'm pulling this up, can you go ahead and do your technology?
Oh, I can
Thank you.
gladly. I got a few of them and some interesting ones.
Okay.
All right. This day in 1958, that's January 31st, 1958, Explorer 1 is launched, which becomes the first American satellite to successfully make orbit. I think that's an awesome one. One of our debut into, well, now I wouldn't call it a debut, but one of our first American satellites that successfully made orbit. I think that's a really cool
Mm-hmm.
an awesome moment in time. Another space accomplishment on this day in 1961, 50 years ago today, Ham the chimp travels into outer space aboard Mercury Redstone 2.
Okay.
Ham, who was named this only after he survived the flight, was the first ape to fly into space.
Wait a minute.
No,
So he have a
he
run
didn't
that
have
back
a name. Yeah, he didn't have a name until after he
because they
came
didn't
back.
want to get attached to him in case he didn't come back.
I
That's
mean,
awful.
yeah. Note that apes include chimpanzees, gorillas, and humans, but not monkeys. So he was not a monkey. Um, he was a chimpanzee. So he travels into outer space on the Mercury Redstone. He's the first ape to fly into space.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay,
All
Ham.
right. Let's go ham. Going ham on. I guess they put a whole
You know
definition on
what?
going ham.
I know you lying.
I'm gonna take that one and I'm gonna turn it into something. If you
All
know, you
right.
know. If you know, you
So,
know. I got one more. All right.
okay.
Let's see. January 31st, 2005. So this wasn't that far. This wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
All right. SBC, announced that it will purchase AT&T Corp for more than $16 billion. This completed maybe the long and sordid tale of the old AT&T company after their breakup in 1984. SBC, one of the original Baby Bells, renamed itself AT&T after the merger, confusing nearly everyone in the world as to which company was which anymore.
Wow.
All right, that's
I forgot
interesting.
about the little Baby Bells, Bell
Yeah.
South and
Oh man.
Bell South and Bell
I think it was Southern Bell and
Southern Bell. Was there one called Bell Atlantic or something like that? Or
yeah, I think it
I
was a
feel
Bell
like it.
Atlantic.
I
I,
remember
I
from my
believe it
childhood.
was. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not. Let me see what. While you get ready, let me see what SBC is. I should have did that before.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably some big utility conglomerate or something. So today in history of racial justice or injustice, depending on how you want to view it. On January 31st, 1964, the night before he was set to move to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Lewis Allen was ambushed outside his property in Liberty, Mississippi, and shot twice in the face with a shotgun. He died almost instantly. Mr. Allen was the victim of racially motivated violence in a system where he was offered no protection by the rule of law. Several years before, in September 1961, a local white state legislator named E.H. Hurst had shot and killed Herbert Lee in Amity County, Mississippi, cotton gin in, oh, wait, he killed him in an Amity, Mississippi cotton gin in front of several eyewitnesses. Mr. Lee was a member of the Amity County, Mississippi NAACP and worked with Bob Moses of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, on a voter registration drive. Mr. Allen witnessed the murder and was initially coerced into saying that Mr. Hurst killed Mr. Lee in self-defense. He later recanted and told the FBI that Mr. Hurst had shot Mr. Lee for registering Black voters. Knowing the considerable risk of violence that came with speaking out against racial violence in Mississippi, Mr. Allen told federal authorities that he would need protection in order to cooperate with the investigation. The FBI refused to provide protection, and Mr. Allen did not testify against Mr. Hurst, but news still spread in the local community that Mr. Allen had spoken with federal investigators. Beginning in 1962, Mr. Allen was targeted for harassment and violence. Local white residents cut off the business to his logging company. He was jailed on false charges, and on one occasion, Sheriff Daniel Jones broke Lewis Allen's jaw with a flashlight. The son of a high-ranking local Klansman, Sheriff Jones, was also suspected to be a member of the KKK. Lewis Allen filed complaints and testified before a federal grand jury regarding the abuse he suffered at the hands of Sheriff Jones, but his claims were dismissed. By 1964, Mr. Allen had resigned himself to leave in Mississippi for his own safety. After Mr. Allen was murdered, Sheriff Daniel Jones was the main suspect. Sheriff Jones later told Mr. Allen's widow if Lewis had just shut his mouth, he wouldn't be laying there on the ground. No one was ever charged or convicted of the murder of Lewis Allen. And that was Today in History, January 31st, 1964.
Man, you gotta laugh and keep from crying, man. It's just history is a mug, man. Especially when it comes down to, particularly, being of color in this particular country.
Black,
So
just say black.
yeah, being
Just say
black in
black.
this country.
Because even people, everybody of color doesn't have the same experience.
Yeah,
There are
that's a good point.
similarities, but
Yeah,
even those people of color are still anti-black.
right.
So let's
Yeah,
just say, let's say black when we really mean it and not that BIPOC stuff. Because even people who are considered BIPOC are still anti-black.
yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. It's the sentiment anti-blackness. So got to call it out.
And just, on that conversation, I wanted to talk about this documentary that I saw last night, and you kind of saw it, the back of your eyelids. You were there in spirit,
Yes,
right?
I
Yeah,
was listening.
yeah, your spirit heard it. This documentary was so disturbing. So this was on PBS. This was one of, PBS is my best friend. And this documentary was called The Picture Taker. So people tend to think that when we talk about racism or when we talk about anti-blackness, that it has to be, some white supremacists committing these acts against other black people, right?
Right.
Anti-blackness means that even black people are anti-black
Yeah.
just because of the experience that we've had in colonialism. Like this situation, there are black people who hate themselves, right? And so
Yeah.
if they hate themselves because of what they've been taught about black people, then they're not going to see me as somebody they should love either, right? They can be equally anti-black towards me. And we saw that in that police killing,
Yeah.
right? Of Tyree. I mean, in Memphis, right? No, it's Memphis. And so this documentary was about the picture taker. It took place in Memphis
I do remember that much about it.
during the civil rights movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was this man who was a photographer. His name was Ernest Withers. He was responsible for nearly 2 million images that were the treasured record of Black history, right? So he like all those pictures that we see of Martin Luther King, like that famous shot of the Lorraine Motel where everybody's like pointing out into the distance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like he was the movement photographer. Black Panthers. We learned about the invaders. Well, I and your spirit learned about the invaders that were in Memphis. I had never heard of them, right? So like
Right.
they were their own brand of like social movement. So they weren't the Black Panthers. I had never heard of them. So if you're hearing me, right, like if you're listening under the sound of my voice, please go do some research on the invaders and find out who they were and what their legacy is. So anyway, so this man, Ernest Withers, was actually taking photos, and it was like documenting American history for us, right, the citizens. But then this joker was an informant.
Right.
He was an informant, and the FBI and the CIA were paying him for they were paying him for the photographs. And so ultimately, what he didn't realize is that like there's always more than one sellout. There's always more than one. And so I think, he didn't initially believe that the photographs and the information that he was giving them would be used to like assassinate Dr. King. But it was what he gave combined with what the other Black informants gave that set up the assassination.
Right.
And I just want people to understand that, when Black people say that, like this experience that we have is like the most traumatic thing you could possibly ever go through, we don't have to be afraid of just white people.
Right.
We have to be afraid of the Black people who are still brainwashed by white people. We have to be afraid of the Black people who want to be white people. That's what colonization does to your mind, right? You will hate yourself so much that you will turn on anybody who looks like you, just for the chance to just get a little piece of that American pie. That is what got Nat Turner. It's always somebody inside the camp. When we say anti-Blackness, that's what we mean. That like it's so much self-loathing that your own people can't even be trusted.
Yep. Yeah.
So y'all go watch that documentary.
And that's the thing, that it's that self-hate can be so pervasive, you can sometimes it's undetectable. Sometimes it's hidden in a way that you don't know until it's over, and it's not always apparent. It's not always clear until you find out someone's motivations, you find out what they set to gain from it. And that's always the question. What are you doing is what do you have to gain?
Yeah.
And it's a raw deal, it's ugly, when you can be, tempted, to betray a whole movement, when people are, trusting in you and confiding in you, and, you're just, smiling in the face, but at the same time, you sliding that blade in between that second and third rib, and then a lot of times you don't know until the other person don't know until it's too late. That's and how it just the covert combat. That's what it is. These are strategic tactics to undermine, and to break apart. These are war tactics. These aren't just,
That's it. It's a psyop.
these aren't just, these are, when you look at, the way, countries are destabilized, and political groups are destabilized, these
Yep.
are some of the same tactics. It's just, you plant, you plant that mold, and that mold, but then it also creates and then it's almost like the mold gets exposed on purpose,
That's it.
to generate a distrust, to
Because
to
they're gonna shame
generate,
you at the end.
yeah, and to create dissentment. It creates that trust. It's like, okay, if you here, then who else is here?
That's it.
And it's that divide and conquer. There's power in numbers, but when you separate it, you easy to pick off. That's why, every, nature shows that. That's why there's herds, and generally speaking, predators roam alone. It's a, that's why, that's why, I stopped glorifying the lone wolf. While it sounds encouraging and like strong and stoic, you got to ask yourself, okay, you know, while that lone wolf sounds strong and powerful, what's behind that? If power is in numbers, what separated you from your pack? What separated you from the group that at one point in time, I'm sure, supported you? That built you up to who you are. Why, what separated you from that tribe, from that clan, from that, it's just, it's a tragic but fascinating, perspective of the human experience, to
Yeah.
be that, like what motivates you to, you know, um, because we, some of, it's like we like to, some of us pride ourselves on being loners, but then it's like, but then you learn that some people are, loners for a specific purpose, you know, and they're easily, apparently easily swayed, so.
Yeah. And this man had this when we're talking about the picture taker, he had a family. They didn't even know what he was doing. Like they didn't even know. Like he was just, they knew that he was making money, but they didn't know, exactly what he was doing. And I just think if you live a life where you have to hide everything about yourself, that's probably your first sign that you're not supposed to be doing it.
Right.
Like that's probably your first cue that that's the wrong thing for you to do. When you can't even tell the person that you sleep in the bed with every night, like that to me, that's a clear indication that you are venturing into something that you have no business
Right.
partaking in.
And then, on the other side too, like I said, I didn't get to watch it as in depth as you, but it always, makes me wonder what was that the person who, what were they told, what bill of goods were they sold? Everybody, wants to be a hero. Was this person, you know, being, told they'd be a hero if they did this, or they'd be serving this grand, great purpose, and they just
Yeah.
catered to this person's ego? And we all know that ego will lead us to do some really unsavory things, for our own sake, especially if it stands in our minds to make us look good, or to make us to be even useful, or if we think that we're being a part of something,
Yeah.
something good, and if we get convinced that what we're doing is for the good, and it's like, I wonder how far was that person led astray, or if that person was like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll be the, or he was the person that said, hey, look, I got the, I'm offering my services. So it really just, boggles the mind. Is like, did this person sign up for this? Were they coerced into this? Were they blackmailed? Were they, it's so loaded and complicated, but because it's like, how do you, I don't want to know, but it's like, it's just to end up in that position, it just boggles the mind, but we know how power works, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if somebody is offering you your wildest dreams, or, your worst nightmares, it's like, what do? But then again, if you're if you have anti-blackness built into your psyche
That's
and
it.
you despise anything that looks like you
That's
might sign
it.
up for something like that. You might figure that is, you rather, do that than to support it. So it's there's so many questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many angles to take. It's Oh man, it boggles my mind if you go from the top from one extreme to the next. It's just, you know, um,
Reminds me of that conversation that we watched with Baba Dick Gregory. He was talking about how they always find some dirt on you. They find some dirt on you, and then it's like whatever dirt they find on you. So it could be like anything with like you cheating on your spouse, or you being some kind of sexual deviant, whatever they, call that, or, just something that might ruin your reputation. They do this digging on you.
right,
And then once they find something on you, then they use that to get you to do, their bidding. And so obviously, if you're going to do this with them, then there's this expectation. If I'm gonna participate, y'all got to pay me, right?
right.
But so it makes me wonder, like, these people who participate in this stuff, do they have dirt on them?
Yeah, and
Like,
that's what I was saying.
like, do they have some on the people? Like, it just, I don't know. And to your point about people being convinced that they're doing some greater good, I
Right.
was just thinking about, the other part of that conversation where, Baba Gregory was talking about Bernie Sanders.
Hmm.
And I was just like, honestly, I'm like, dang, I was convinced that like I was doing the right thing, like supporting the man. You know what I'm saying? I had no, but it just tells you how big of a psyop they're running on
Right.
everybody. Cause you really did. It wasn't that I mean, he wasn't any worse than anybody else, but at the same time, I was convinced that he could at least be decent. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, woo, you
Yeah,
know, I
I
know you
mean,
lying. Like when I heard those things, I was just like,
yeah, it was just
is
kind
there
of
anything worth believing in?
it makes it hard. It makes you question everything. It make you question everything and everybody. Because I was under the impression that he was for the people, about the people, and turns out you know
And we don't have proof. But I'm just saying, like Dick Gregory probably got it on good. He got a pretty good track record
I
with the
mean,
government and so on and so forth. So God bless the dead. But yeah,
I know
since our
you
last
lying.
episode is right. Since our last episode, has been a lot of eye-opening
Yeah, been
activities taking
some
place
been some
around Casa
interesting
Dunlap Manor.
been some interesting days, to say the least. Interesting,
I don't regret
interesting.
them, you know.
No.
I
I don't
don't
mean
regret them.
interesting, and I don't mean interested in bad. I mean interested in there's always something, whether it
Hmm.
be on one end or the other. It's always something going on.
So I'll say this. I want to talk about. Let's talk about something funny. What's like, well,
Is it funny?
no,
Well,
mm, maybe not. I want to talk about because both of us are from back home, the A,
yes, indeed.
and we're the originals, right? Like we were born there, so it's hard to find people who are in Atlanta now that are from like Grady babies, Crawford Long babies,
Yeah,
Atlanta
born and
Medical
bred,
babies, George Baptist,
born in the city, heart of the
South
city.
Fulton. It's hard to find those people.
Right.
And so I was reading this New York Times article today that was talking about how, over 200,000 Black people in the past decade have migrated from New York City to the South, mostly children and teenagers. And they were looking at data from like the school systems, like enrollment data. And they were just talking about, how 19% of the Black children in New York City have left.
Mm,
That's going to shift some stuff.
yeah.
And I say that because I remember everybody, coming to Atlanta and being like, "Oh, y'all backwards, y'all this, y'all that." You know how it goes. But
Oh
you're not gonna go
yeah.
though. You're not gonna leave. You just gonna. And then when you say, "Well, why don't you go back home?" and they'll say, "Well, because the cost of living here is cheaper."
Right. I
And
remember
so
that.
that's what the article was talking about. About how people are saying that the cost of living in Atlanta is, or in the South is so much cheaper than it is in a city like New York. But I just think that what we're seeing is the return.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the reverse of the Great Migration, right?
Right.
And I wonder how many of those Black people are the descendants
Or people that
people
came
who were,
from.
yes, people who originally went north, during Jim Crow and immediately after Reconstruction. And it just made me think about it, like, you
That's
know,
that would be some fascinating research.
yeah, like I'm just like, what if it has come full circle
Mm-hmm.
and they are returning home, right?
Right. For one
Um,
reason or another.
yeah, because I know like almost everybody I know, if they're not, if everybody I know up north, if they're not from like another country,
Mm-hmm.
then they got a grandma from Alabama or
Yep.
Mississippi or Georgia, whatever. The Kakalakis, they
Yep.
got family from the South. And so I was just wondering, like, the excitement, obviously when you grow up in Atlanta, it's an international city anyway, so you're used to lots of different people going, but you can't have that many people from a different place moving
Right.
without you seeing something changing in the culture and the demographic. And so I was wondering, the first migration produced the Harlem Renaissance.
Right.
And, just that Renaissance in art and music and Black culture. And I'm like, will we see it again in our lifetime? And this is different than like So Def versus Bad Boy versus Death Row. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's
Like,
some on a totally different level, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. This is some old who's the next Zora Neale Hurston type stuff, you know?
And to even expand it, you think about, without going into depth, you think about the birth of, AI coming out, and the things that AI is going to allow these artists and, business people to do, these brilliant minds that are
That's
migrating
it.
back, because there's a ton of money, being poured into Atlanta, all of the entertainment, just everything is being done there now, and you think about all of these brilliant minds back and what they're bringing with them, and the technology, and it might not just be, it might be a renaissance in all areas:
I think
business,
so.
science, technology, music, the arts, sports, entertainment. I could see it going so many different ways, so so these next several years are going to be incredibly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because the thing with, just speaking about technology, it as technology develops, it accelerates. And
Yeah.
you think about all of these minds getting together, galvanizing and building ideas and on in an infrastructure in a place that supports it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we might see probably see some terrifying things, but we
Yeah.
might see some really amazing things
Mm-hmm.
come out of there.
I'm excited.
Um, oh yeah, it's an exciting
I'm
time.
excited.
Depending on which perspective you look at,
Mm-hmm.
it can go either way. But I think that's the balance of life, right? It can
Yeah.
go amazing or it can go abysmally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're on the precipice of something really, really special. What a time to be alive, right?
Yes. 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 And I was just like, oh, so yeah, okay. Here we
You
go.
know, just as
Welcome.
much as we say, I know you lying, you say, for real?
For real
Wow.
too.
Okay. Okay. All right. I see it.
Yes. 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 And so for me, I'm excited to see how that influx of Black and brown babies transforms. I mean, APS is always Black, CPS is
Yeah.
always Black. Um, the cab is always
Oh,
Black.
yeah.
But I'm interested in seeing how areas like Gwinnett and Cobb
Mm-hmm.
and, dare I say, Forsyth, if anybody's brave enough to move up there. I'm just saying, like,
Hey,
I
I
still don't
mean,
drive through coming. Listen, if I go up there, I'm like, let me get in and get out. Right. I can't stand when somebody invites me to an event and it's in Forsyth County. I'm like, did you not know that I was Black? Like, why would you do that? So I'm just saying,
you did it on purpose.
you did it on purpose. You did it on purpose. But so I'm excited, just to see that shift in the demographic. And I think that it's going to be, I don't know, I'm excited about the pluses,
Right.
the benefits of
The
having that
opportunities,
influx.
the
Yeah.
opportunities that it creates. And, just even, for people who break before, may opportunity may present itself, to them, and
Hmm.
so it's a, like I said, it's a fascinating time what develops in the future.
So, on a lighter note, we had watched this movie,
Oh yeah, that movie, which was,
and
really, it was funny, but it was like uncomfortable funny sometimes.
so for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, we watched that new movie called You People.
On Netflix.
Netflix, yes. And so it's a Kenya Barris production. So some of y'all hate Kenya Barris off the rip, but whatever. And it was Kenya Barris and what was the other boy named?
Um, Jonah Hill, right?
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
So they co-produced it. And we don't want to do spoiler alerts. I mean, Eddie Murphy was in it, Neil Long was in it, uh Julia Louis Dreyfus, the lady from Seinfeld, was in it. I
Hmm.
forgot what the dad played in. Was it in
That was the X-Files guy.
the X Files? Because I
Yeah,
called him X Files when I saw him in
yeah,
there.
the
You
X-Files
right.
guy.
You
Scully.
right.
No,
Scully. Mulder.
Mulder. Yeah,
Mulder.
yeah,
You sure? Scully was the girl? Oh yeah, her name was like Dana Scully or something, wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
So, just to say that, Twitter, Black Twitter, they were up in arms about how Lauren gonna go from Nipsey Hussle to Jonah Hill, right?
First of all, it's a
But
movie.
that's
But
correct,
second of
right?
all,
Second of all, Lauren Hill, daddy, not Lauren
Lauren,
Hill. Lord have
Lauren London,
mercy.
Lauren London.
Lord have mercy, God. I know you lying.
Got it.
Lauren London,
Yeah,
not the Lauren Hill. Lauren London.
the
Okay.
Lauren London.
Mhm. Her father is Jewish, right? So she's biracial anyway. Like that wasn't a stretch for her. Like
And
Jonah
that
Hill is actually her dad in real life, like it really wasn't a stretch. And so I don't think a lot of Black people knew that. I didn't know that. I don't
I
follow
didn't
her
know
like
that. I
that.
was today years old when I found that
Yeah, I
out,
just
and
remember
I
her being new on
and
ATL.
but that actually puts a different. I might go watch it again just because of that, because it might make certain interactions and scenes make better sense. But that was I mean, for what it was a pretty
There
cool
were some
movie.
moments.
It was some
There was
moments
some
where I
real
was like,
cringe moments though. There were some real
ah,
cringe moments, but I think some things are, you know what? Let me just say this. I think with some things we take them too seriously.
yeah,
Sometimes we have to just let something be what it is. If it's comedy, but it's not your brand of comedy, then don't watch it. You know what I'm
right,
saying? But
right,
like to expect that every single film that has Black people to come out is going to appease all Black people.
yeah,
We're different. We keep saying we're not a monolith, but at the same time, we get mad when something doesn't fit. Like, let them people have their show. If you
and I
don't
think
like Kenya Barris, then why watch anything with Kenya Barris in it? Like,
and
just don't watch it. If you already gonna be mad from the rip, just don't even
right,
watch it.
and I think
Twitter,
that's the key, right? Not everything is for everybody.
right? Like,
You
go to Twitter
know,
and they'll tell you exactly what happened on there. Because I stay
right.
on Twitter, and I'm more of a lurker these days on Twitter. I don't really do too much posting.
Hmm.
Back in the day when it first came out, I used to post, I used to teach on it. My students and I would be on there. But like now I'm just kind of like more of a voyeur. I go on there and see what y'all, I'm like, what y'all mad at today? And I
That's
just
what it
go,
seems like.
like, who we mad at today? And I just want to know what we're talking about, who we upset with. And that's basically what I go on there for. I think there are lots of thoughtful conversations that take place on there. But also I think that once your boy, the guy who has the building down the street, once he took over, there was an exodus. So I may need to go jump on the new spots and see
yeah,
what they're doing. Like maybe technically Twitter is like MySpace
yeah,
and everybody on
relatively
Facebook
speaking,
now. I don't know.
right. Yeah, we have to do some research and hop on, check out the other platforms.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think part of that too was to, kind of make it uncomfortable, because, both of those topics, whether Black topics and, Jewish topics can be really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? They can go left real quick. I'll put it
Real
like that. They
tense,
could be inflammatory at
real
times,
tense.
and they can, and I think that was the whole point, was to point out, what's to kind of make some of those
Hmm.
really uncomfortable situations, these uncomfortable conversations, these uncomfortable, interactions in general, known, and
Yep.
stop playing around, stop playing like these things don't exist. Because I think That's the real juke move. It's pretending like, oh, that's not real. But it's
Yep.
like, no,
Yeah.
this stuff plays a real role in everyday life, and it's time to stop. If we keep talking this concept of moving forward and growing and progressing, sometimes we got I won't even say sometimes.
Hmm.
99% of the times, which is virtually 100% of the time, you got to address the elephant in the room before you move forward.
That's it.
And if you want continuation of conversation, or even in more in-depth conversation where you can find where you relate, you got to address what's obvious. You got to address what's and mostly what's some, and it's the weird thing is what's obvious is sometimes what's the most uncomfortable.
And they did that, right? And I think of like two, maybe as you were talking, I was just thinking about like two specific examples that
Mm-hmm.
were in the film. All of them related to the Jewish community, right? And the Black community. This tension that exists between the two communities, right? Like the comparison of the oppressions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that one scene where he was
No,
like,
no, no, no spoilers. No spoiler.
"Oh,
Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't do it. We'll talk about it after the show. But
I
we don't
wanted
want
to
to.
say it.
I know you did, but we don't want to kill it for the people who
You
haven't
won't let me
seen it
say
yet.
it."
Yeah, because it's a pretty important part. It's a pretty important part of the film.
Mm.
And I think those who are interested in it should check it out, because it really is so true in a way. Like, that's one of those like real cringe moments. You're just
I'm
like,
really
oh my,
pouting over this though. I don't know if you're
oh,
aware.
I know, I know, I know. I'm sorry,
Mm.
but we promise no spoilers, so we're gonna stand on our word. But for those of you who are interested, check it out. There's some real moments in there that'll make you really uncomfortable. But the whole purpose of those uncomfortable moments is to ask yourself, why am I uncomfortable with this?
Okay, so let's
Why?
make it a challenge then. Let's make it a challenge if you just gonna have to, be a bully. Let's make it a challenge. Um, y'all go watch the movie. Those of you who are on Facebook Live, come back and put in the chat if you figured out what the two moments are that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, it had me I was like this big in my chair. I was trying to shrink because I was like, oh, I can't but I can't look away.
But
But
it was, I mean,
it
and the
was a
fact that
cold
Jonah
moment.
Hill, right, who's clearly Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
is the executive producer and the co-writer. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like this is a joke that Black people say to other Black people about that particular situation. It's like, bruh, did you really? Oh, wow. So y'all do know
Right,
that.
right.
That is y'all ace in the hole.
And
Okay.
then, and
All right.
I liked I Eddie Murphy's performance in the movie. I think all of the actors all of the actors in the movie did a really phenomenal job, and what I liked about it is that they they own, like, both. I don't want to say sides, but I guess that's the point of the movie, right? To have those, both families sat in, I don't the judgment and
Mm-hmm.
the preconceived notions. They didn't try to pander to anybody. And I think that's what made it uncomfortable, because there
Yeah.
was no pandering. There was
Mm-hmm.
no attempt to make anybody feel comfortable. And I think that was the one of the best parts of the movie. And one of the best parts of the underlying story is addressing, what what either keeps getting overlooked or danced around, and just addressing the stuff straightforward. And it made for a really compelling movie. I know it's a lot of people, like you said, it ain't for everybody, because not a lot of people are ready for that. Not a lot of people are ready for that level of discomfort, and if you're not ready for it, it's not for you. But if you're ready to, to think, to see things outside of your square, check it out. It actually made me think about some of my questions, some of the preconceived notions I have in my mind. Um,
I think it was good. You have to take it for what it is. I feel like Eddie
it's a
Murphy's
comedy.
character, his character to me, his character was less of like I said, it wasn't like his character in Mr. Church.
No,
It was more like his character in the Clumps, but or more like his character on like a Saturday Night Live skit.
right.
And so if you were looking for Eddie Murphy, like it was almost similar to his character in Coming to America, Prince Hakeem, like, and on I don't know, like, to me, if I'm thinking about like a spectrum of Eddie Murphy roles, it was more like he was spoofing
Right.
that type of character or that type of person, as opposed to trying to embody that type of person. And so if that's what you're looking for, but anyway, so go watch it, come back and drop in the chat if you found it. That's,
Or
that's the
just tell us,
challenge.
or tell us what you think. Tell us what came to mind for you. What did it make you ask about in yourself? I think
Mr.
Eddie Murphy.
Dunlap playing in my face and won't let me tell it.
I know, but I also think Eddie Murphy channeled a little bit of Charlie in there too. I think
He
he was.
did. He
I
reminded
think
me of Charlie so
he.
much.
I
Oh
think
my
if
gosh.
rest in peace, but I think if Charlie was alive, I think that role would have. I think he would
He
have
would have
been
been
in that
perfect.
role.
I
I
would
think
have
he would
wanted
have
to
did
see
that.
him playing Mike Epps' role if Charlie was alive. Like, I think
I
that would have been good because,
I
I
I
think that would have been
think
good.
I think Mike Epps did a good job too. He
He
was
did. He just
super
silly.
funny. He was
He just
super
silly.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
So, if y'all haven't seen it or plan on seeing it, check it out. It's a good laugh. Like I said, it's a comedy. Don't take it too serious, but it might, if it make you uncomfortable, that means you got to ask yourself some questions. I know I
I would
did.
say that. I would just say if it makes you uncomfortable, it's just not for you. Don't watch it.
That part too.
Yeah, but you can't be angry with that lady for being with a Jewish man in the movie, and her literal father
Right.
is a Jewish man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, part of when you go to the film is that that's not really her. That's her and Jonah Hill. That's not Amira, and I forgot what his name was in the movie. That's Lauren London and Jonah Hill. And it's like you've got to be willing to suspend that. And I think that we have her trapped. And honestly, maybe that's why she did the movie.
Right.
Because we have her hermetically sealed for the rest of her life as Nipsey Hussle's grieving baby mama. That can't be who she is for the rest of her life, right?
Right.
And so even if it's just something as silly as that movie to get us to stop thinking about her in that way,
Yeah.
whatever, so be it. And I
Yeah.
also want to say that there was so many moving tributes to Nipsey in that film.
Oh yeah.
So she did him justice in that movie. But the last thing I want to say is that I struggle seeing Lauren London with Lil Wayne more than I struggle to see her with Jonah Hill. Like, how can you? She had a baby with Lil Wayne, so like at that point, I'm confused. Like, how can you not see her with somebody else? Like, to me, that's the most. I don't know. That had to be witchcraft. I'm pretty sure.
Who knows?
I'm pretty sure it was something involved in that, some hypnotism, something.
Well, the man got the spectacular vernacular. So if you could talk it,
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're so trash sometimes. You just, Lord God.
I mean,
yeah. That's because you be talking to me like that too.
There you go.
That's how you got me.
We wouldn't even talk about me.
That's how you got me. That's why you had to take your little sip of water.
Spectacular vernacular.
Yep. That's how you got me. Now you're telling your trade secrets.
No, it's you might know the name, but you don't know you got it's a skill set.
I know. You be doing hoodoo on me. I know it.
I mean,
trash.
I will neither confirm nor deny said statement. And that's all I'm gonna say about that right there.
All right. You know what? Let's switch it up. Can you switch it up for me?
Yeah. So
don't switch it up if you're gonna say no. If I ask for something, then you're gonna say no. Don't say that.
Well, to kind of switch it up a little bit, a little bit of a, something that is from the other side of the world. We talked about this a little bit, and this is happening in Sichuan, China. So this isn't
talk about that. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's all I had written down. I
thought you were gonna do the little card thing.
Oh yeah, we could do that then.
I want to do something a little,
all right, unscripted. All right, let's do that then. All right, we'll those of you who want to know about the Sichuan thing, they're go to CNN, you'll know it when you see it.
Just give them a little bit.
Well, basically, where there was a 2-child limit in across China in province called Sichuan. They have released those restrictions on released the restriction of a 2-child limit for married couples, and they're also so you can basically, because birth rates are abysmally declining, so Parents don't, parents aren't married couples aren't limited to just 2 children. They can have as many children as they want. I think they still have to go through some type of registration process. But they're also extending the same rights and privileges that married couples have to single
Ain't that something?
parents. Yeah,
So you
and
go to
that's
hell for stuff until the government needs you to do it,
interesting.
right? You go to hell for it until the government needs you to do it. And so I was just thinking about like how many people been ostracized for not being married or for having children out of wedlock, or how many babies were put in orphanages or,
Yeah,
whatever, because their parents weren't married, or, even how many people aborted babies because they didn't
right.
want the stigma of having a baby and they weren't married. Maybe they really wanted to keep their baby or whatever.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was thinking is that why this country did that? Because they knew it was coming and they were trying to get out ahead of it. Like they don't want us to have a declining population when countries like China are about to start popping it off. You know, you got to
Well,
have bodies to throw into the machine.
in some countries, the young people aren't even dating. They aren't even, dating or anything like that. So I think that's in like Tokyo in
Chinese
Japan.
children don't want to be, but everybody
Yeah.
wants to be in some kind of virtual, like a
Yeah.
simulation of reality, right? And they're more dedicated to spending time building up the virtual reality than they are actually fixing the real thing. So I don't want to fix this because y'all, it's clear it's not gonna work, right? Like y'all stubborn, y'all don't want to change. People stuck in their ways, racism, colonialism, all the ism, sexism, homophobia, all this stuff. So like, just give me a headset,
I mean,
right? Ready Player One.
on some level, can you blame them? If regular
Listen,
waking life is miserable, you can't find anybody to connect with, and you can be exactly who you want to be in this virtual space. You know,
that's what it
um,
is.
it's I mean, when you make regular life so difficult, for average people to just connect and just be themselves, where everybody has to code switch and be this person to get this place, and they have to one else to become something else. It's like, people just want to be themselves.
I'm nervous about that though, in a way, because I'm thinking about, we already have to watch out for predators coming into virtual spaces pretending to be a child, to lure children. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking about in this virtual space, like what's to stop a grown man from showing up in the virtual world as a kid just to do stuff with kids? Like how do you control that? Like we got to figure out what that actually means. Like I'm thinking about again that movie Ready Player One, where people just, you didn't know who those people were. They
Right.
had little children in there playing, in the movie, they had the little children in playing, but they had big grown up characters. And
Hmm.
so I'm just worried about what happens to childhood, what happens to youth um, when they're exposed to that stuff. But I also am of the belief that childhood and youth are waning
Yeah.
in this reality. I just feel like we're not holding space for children anymore. We expose them to any and everything. And that's the part that honestly scares me. But again, I'm not sure that we can account for that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
It's like it's almost like with us and how we talk about how in a lot of ways how we had to grow up quick,
mhm,
and I think it's any different, you know, where they're moving into not just they're moving into a different world too, where
yeah,
they're going to have to grow and become sharper in there. And that's one of the reasons why I'm kind, that I'm into it, so I can understand it, so like when young folks are venturing into that space, I can like with my with our son, telling him how, hey man, you got to be careful of this, you got to watch out for this, to kind of hip him to the pitfalls, because he's an avid gamer and he loves virtual reality and VR. And so I have to stay on top of him, like, hey, you need to watch out for this, and who is this person you're talking to, and
that's it.
how old is this person, how do you know that person is that old, and and so it's a scary thing, so, but anyway, we were supposed to go into a lighter topic, and we kind of
It's
took a left to
okay.
talk
It's okay.
about.
We're
Oh yeah,
fine. We're fine.
oh yeah,
Everyone's
no
fine.
issue. We still got time. This you in it with the Dunlaps. If you didn't know, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
you
shout out
were
to my BFF for going to get my cord to charge my
your mouse.
cuz
Hey, all right.
listen.
So we're going to the family time together cards. We're gonna switch gears. All right. So this card has 3 questions. I'm going to pick
3. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna pick the one in the middle, because I like balance. And I think this might be, I don't know if this will be an easy one, but it's a good one. So the question is, what is the best thing you have ever eaten? Things to make you go,
Yeah, because I don't know. The best thing I've ever eaten. Oh, because I'm not like really like one of those people who is just like, oh, that was the best food ever. I would say maybe the best thing I've ever eaten. I don't know. I don't even think about stuff like that. That's odd, babe. Okay. Well, I would just say recently, right? Because of course the Atlanta girl in me is like lemon pepper wet.
I mean,
Hot honey lemon pepper wet.
listen, I
Hot
mean,
lemon pepper sprinkles.
whenever we go home, that's generally the first thing on the menu, right? You put me on, like,
You have
I have been
to.
away from
But you
Atlanta
have
for over
to.
15 years, and so I ain't know nothing about hot lemon pepper wet. I went home and got put on. I was like, you tell me I've been missing this?
Yes,
Man,
you've been
I'd have
missing
made a
it.
whole bunch of trips back home to get this. Man, didn't nobody tell me about this?
Lemon pepper wet. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're in Atlanta, so no, but I will say that recently the best thing that I've done is when I learned how to make the homemade birria.
Let me tell you something.
Because it's a sense of accomplishment too. Like I learned how to do that. So if you've never had homemade birria or quesadilla,
Do yourself a favor. If you got
baby,
if you got a restaurant close by, a food truck that do birria, do yourself a favor.
or
That's some
learn how
good
to make
stuff.
your own. It is a labor of love, though. I will say that I have so much more respect. Um, like I feel like some cuisine, you can tell that they have a culture where the people who make the food don't work outside the house.
Right.
Because it's like slow simmered and stuff that
Yep.
takes hours, and it's like a tedious process versus hamburger helper.
Right.
Like hamburger helper is for people who work 85 jobs and got 5 kids, and it's like if I don't feed y'all, they're gonna come take y'all.
Right.
And so I when I do that, like, because I have to marinate the meat starting on Thursday night. It's like a labor of love. So I started Thursday night, and it's like our Friday and Saturday meal. And so I marinate the meat overnight on Thursday, and then I cook it, and it takes me all day
Yeah.
on Friday, because it's like 6 hours on like really low heat in the oven. And so yeah, I would say I'm pretty proud of myself. I've done it twice now, so yeah, consider
Yeah.
I can do it without the recipe now, so that's good.
Well, for me, other than the food that you made for me,
Oh,
the best thing I've ever eaten, I would have to say, was when I had larb for the very first time.
In real Thailand larb.
Like when I was in Thailand, and my friend Crumpet cooked larb for us. That was the best. I was like, okay, when I get back, I'm gonna find somewhere. I'm gonna figure out how to make this myself, because this is amazing.
Okay, so that's on deck. I got you. I'm gonna learn how to make that.
Oh, see, best wife in the world.
I know a little hoodoo too now.
See, I think
You
it
got your
might be
things,
you.
I got mine.
It might be you with the hoodoo, telling me that I'm doing it. You going to make him birria. Oh, he like birria. Let me go and let me go on and whip it real good.
Stuff you like.
So I had a whole house smelling like Friday mornings, that like trying to work from home, and man, that makes it so hard.
And I put the ramen in there. I get the ramen and put the.
I should have went to the office today. I can't concentrate.
You like it. You like it.
Oh yeah, I do. All right. You want another question?
One more question to close us out. Make it good.
All right, these two are hard, so
It's
I'm
gonna be some
going
mess.
to pick.
I already know.
I want to pick. I ain't gonna pick the one that's real personal, but I'm gonna pick this one. I think this one is a good one. It says, if you were to take a tourist to one place in the city where you grew up, where would you take them?
It depends on what kind of tourist.
Well, let's say someone.
I mean,
Let's
because
just
we
say,
have options. We got Magic City or the King Center. Like,
well, I
it
guess
depends on.
it didn't. So one of the things it didn't specify is if this is a international tourist or domestic tourist.
I don't think that really matters. It just depends on what kind of. I mean, like I said, we got
Well,
Magic City where they
yeah,
also serve lemon pepper wet.
that's
Or we
true.
got the King Center. We got the Center for International Human Rights. That's huge. We got the
Yeah,
World of Coca-Cola. We got the aquarium. We have a good zoo. We have lots of things in Atlanta. We got the Olympic Park. We
yeah.
have the CNN Center. We have lots of. I
Yeah,
don't.
that was a hard one for me too, because I'm
Mhm.
like, as somebody who hasn't really, who every time I come back now it's new. It's
Yeah,
like
like we got Tyler
nothing
Perry
is,
Studios.
yeah,
We
nothing is
got
ever the same. So
yeah, I we have lots of things. I mean, even taking somebody to the airport is an adventure.
that's true.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah,
I mean, you go to the right gas station at the right time, you get it.
that's an adventure too. Did I
That's
tell
an
you about
adventure
that time
too.
when I saw somebody selling drugs with their Bible
No,
on Terra Boulevard? And if you from Atlanta, you know Terra Boulevard. I
you
That's all I had to say.
already know. You already
Terra
know.
Boulevard. They had a Bible. They had the middle part cut out. The pages was cut out, and they had their meth in there, and they were selling them. I'm not lying. You
Wow.
know, the Bible sold them meth to keep it moving.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been away from home for so long. I'm a tourist when I go, so I don't know if I can answer that question.
Yeah,
I
it's
am a
just so
tourist.
many places to take people. Like we got the Beltline, that's
Hmm.
beautiful. I mean, I think that's one of the best things about Atlanta that we have so many different types of places. Like we have the Botanical Gardens, we
Yep.
have the High Museum of
Now,
Art. We
that's
have
where if
like,
that's where I would take someone. If I could take anybody, if I would take someone, that when I took yeah, that's one place I would a tourist. Yeah, I would
yeah,
take them to the botanical. That place is amazing. I haven't been
yeah,
in a
we just got
very
so
long
much.
time, but that
And
place is amazing.
that's why I love it, and I just think that like there are so many cultural things to see, like just taking them to Auburn Avenue, explaining
Hmm.
to them this is one of the original Black Wall Streets,
Hmm.
and this just so much history, like the Apex Museum.
Oh yeah.
There's just so much stuff to just the Herndon home.
Oh yeah.
Like there's just so
It's
much
so
Black
much.
history. It's such a rich legacy, and that's why I would say, like for me, growing up in a space like that, it just you're different when you come from a space like that, and
Right.
you just know who you are,
Hmm.
and you're proud of who you are. Um, and so yeah, like Old Turner Field.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you when you said Centennial Park, I thought Centennial Park was a good one. Um,
So much stuff.
there's so many, heck, there's so much new stuff there. Everything, anything I could take somebody to would be new for me. So we'd both be sitting there
Yeah, the Mercedes
confused.
Benz
Yep.
Stadium, Phillips
Yeah, I was just thinking,
Arena.
I was just thinking about that one.
What's they got the new Brave Stadium, the I forgot what it's called. I haven't been to the new one because it's in Cobb County. I'm still mad about them moving it out the Black neighborhood, but whatever. Go
I
Braves,
mean,
I guess.
I know, right? All right.
But yeah.
All right. Let me ask the third one. I think the third one would be a good one too. You ready?
Okay.
See if we could
Okay.
do it
I'm
quick.
holding my head already.
You might. If you could go back in time 5 years, what advice would you give yourself?
Marry that man, girl. Yes. Marry
I
him.
I concur with that. Marry her. Go on and get her,
Yes.
man. Don't waste no time, man. Like what you waiting
Listen,
on, man? Just go on and get her, man. Just go on and get her. Don't
that would
even.
be 5 years. That's the sweet spot. That's
I
right on
know,
top.
right? I know, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I said go ahead and make that happen.
Mhm.
You ain't gonna regret it. You're
And I
gonna
would
you're gonna be
also tell
happy you did.
myself, it's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But I would definitely, everything that I would tell myself would be, about um, loving more, just pouring as much love as I could into my loved ones because nobody knew COVID was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I would love more, and I would just tell myself um, to when I came to Austin to visit, to spend more time getting to know the city.
Yep.
As opposed to just, oh, my flight, I got flued out, just I'm going back home. But like seriously, taking more time to learn the city. Because like I said, I had no idea that as soon as I got here, COVID was gonna come. So I didn't even really have a chance to get to know my new city. I don't think I still know a lot about this new city.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
and in the reverse, now that you mentioned that, I would tell myself to make some, now that you found this person, go home more.
Mm.
Just go home more, you know.
Oh, and let some stuff go.
Oh yeah,
Everything ain't your
definitely.
battle, right? Let it go. Just let it go and see what happens, right?
Yep.
Like sometimes life is about letting it go and being dragged.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have just said, just let it go. Just have the faith to believe in new beginnings and don't try to overcompensate. Don't try to assume, somebody else's pain and try to overcompensate for it. Just let it be.
Yeah.
See what life does, you know?
And let that and let that door close. Let
Hmm.
that door close. Don't look back. Just
That's it.
don't look back. That's what I would tell myself. Just move forward and your conviction, and stand on your convictions and move forward. So that would be what I tell myself. Go home more, spend some more time at home, you know,
Well,
and
I'm
like you said, it's
glad
gonna
that
be
we
all
both
right.
made good decisions 5 years ago so we can have this moment tonight.
Yep. It gets better and better. Just
Yes, it does.
it gets better. It keeps getting better. So just, you know,
We in it together, baby. So
hey, we in it.
we're gonna make it work.
Yes, we are. And y'all are in it too. This has been another episode of In It Together with the Dunlaps. I am your co-host, Deante.
And I'm Shekema.
And we are
With
the
the Dunlap.
Dunlaps. Thank y'all for getting in it with us tonight. Thank you for
Yes.
hanging in there. Those of you all who watch from the beginning to the end, we really appreciate it. Um, you know, like us, share us, promote us, give us
Please
some
do.
ideas, tell us what you like.
And consider
Um,
being a guest on the show.
yeah. Yeah, if
We'd
you
love to
want to,
have you.
if you want to, if you want to participate in the conversation, holler at us. We'd love to talk. Conversation rules the nation, baby.
That's
Thank
it.
y'all for everything. Y'all have a great night. We'll be back again next week. Same black time, same black channel,
Yes.
6
6 p.m.
p.m.
Central Standard Time right here on Facebook Live.
That is. And
See
where
y'all
else are
later.
we? And where else are we broadcasting?
Spotify, or her radio, wherever your favorite streaming platform is.
We out there.
Yes.
Get in it with us. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Peace, everybody.